Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to prepare an avatar so that you can import it back into the scene for animating multiple avatars in one scene. And so the first thing you probably want to do is come to the outliner, and then you want to get rid of as much out of it that you don't need. And so obviously you want to keep the mesh, although I'm not actually using these two eyes, although I can. I just happen to have the bento head on there. Well, we'll leave the bento eyes. So we're going to get rid of these, and we'll get rid of that head because we don't need it. We'll come in here to here and see if we select all these, you know, it's like, oh no, I want to keep the default head with the mouth closed and the left and right bento eyes. We don't need the bento head because that's just a different head, and we don't need I'm sorry, we don't want to delete. I'm unselecting, so we don't want to delete the head with the mouth closed and the left and right alt eyes because they're bento eyes, and the rest of this stuff we can go ahead and delete. Okay, and we're not going to be using the automatic mesh resizing. Let's see, control base for auto mesh resizing. So we don't need to have that either. I'm just trying to make this a little bit smaller so it's easier. I'll probably let's see, I'm going to rename this female avatar skeleton. Female avatar skeleton. And let's see, move control female. Okay, so I've sort of cleaned this up so there's a lot less in here, and now I'm going to rename the bones of the skeleton. Okay, I had to do a little bit of editing there. I'd messed up. Okay, so anyway, so we're going to rename the bones of the skeleton. I've already renamed. This was hip, but we're going to rename it back to the original name, which is M pelvis. So anyway, so this is what you should have. So we're going to be renaming these names to something that is still acceptable by Second Life for BVH animations, and so that you won't have two skeletons in the same scene that have the same bone names. Otherwise, when you go to export it out, there will be a conflict. So what we're going to do is, instead of coming in here and renaming these all manually avatar underscore M pelvis and having to do each one manually, because there's 159 of them, it would get quite tiring after a while. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to download the bonus tools for your Maya Star. Not Maya Star, for your Maya. I'll probably put a link in the description to where you can get bonus tools from 2014 through 2017 with one download. Although, if you have a different version, if you have 2013 or 2012 or 10 or I don't know if they have one out for 2018 yet or not. You'll have to Google that and find the bonus tools and install them. They're really easy to install once you get the MSI installer program. It's really easy to install. Just run the program and then close Maya, run the program, and open up Maya, and then you should have a new tool, a new menu up here called Bonus Tools. Okay, so click on Bonus Tools, you come down here to Window, and then you come down here to Pattern Rename. And you should see something like similar like this. Different ears might be slightly different than this, but they all should work basically the same. So I already have M pelvis selected, but what I want to do is select the hierarchy and then come here to refresh so that we have all these. And it shouldn't matter if these parent constraints are also in there. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a prefix to it. We're going to be adding to each name without changing it. We're just going to be adding a prefix to it. So it's avatar. And then make sure you put an underscore. And then you hit rename. And as you see, they've all been renamed to add that. And you're done. So that's took 2 seconds. So believe me, it's well worth your time to download the bonus tools. I'm sure there's a bunch of other really good tools in there if you've never used them. And so, okay, so we've just renamed our skeleton. At least the skeleton that's going to be exported out for animation purposes. The skeleton that you're, as far as bento skeletons are, this is the skeleton, the original skeleton that your avatar, or that your mesh is rigged to. And I just named it original. That's a part of the Mel script, does it when you've done the activated avatar for animating the bento skeleton. It does that all automatically. So, because this is to animate with, not to export out your mesh with as a rigged mesh. So anyway, so now that we have that done, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a save as. So you go File, Save As, and we're just going to put it on the desktop, and we'll call this Female for Animating Multi. Okay, and now that we have that, I'm going to import the avatar back into the scene, so that we'll have two avatars. Let's see. So I'm going to reopen. Actually, I can't because I've already renamed these. So I'm going to reopen up this back to the original. Oh, this is the original. Okay, so this is the original skeleton, or the original one. So you still have all these meshes in here. So this is the original, so it has all the original bone names and everything. So I'm going to import. I'm going to go to my desktop and switch this to Maya file. Maya scenes. There's a female. And you want to come down here to usernames. And you want to turn off, or use namespace. You want to turn off use namespace. And we could say second female, because it's, or or we could call it imported female. You can name this anything. Can't use a number 2 or a number in front of it. Maya never likes numbers as the first part of a name. Let's see. I believe it's clashing nodes. So if there's a clashing node, it will add this to the beginning of it. If there's no clashing node, then it won't change the name whatsoever. So then we're just going to go import. Okay, so it looks like we have one skeleton in the scene, or one avatar, but we actually have two. So here's the female. This is the one that we renamed before. I think the move shortcut working. Cap locks is on. What the hell? There it is. That was really weird. Okay. Okay, but we have to select the imported one. There we go. So now we have two avatars in the scene. Now, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was very confusing. I just love it when weird things like that happen. You're like, going, what's going on? We just weren't in object mode. We were in some sort of other mode. That was really weird. Okay, so now we have two avatars in the scene. Say we're going to do we could, anyway, have two female dancers dancing or whatever. So you can see like there was a clash here because we didn't change the name of this one where it was underscore animation skeleton. See, we didn't change the name of this the one before, so it clashed. So it added this to the prefix, imported female, so we could tell which one it is. But this one was fine because its name was different than this name. So, so there wasn't a clash, so it didn't rename this one, which is the most important because we don't have to worry about renaming it now and fixing it. So, okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is, looks like we had some, oh that's right, I had some animations on this particular file before I exported it out. So now we're going to clean it up, and it's real easy to clean up. I'm just going to select the hierarchy and then come in here to frame 48 and delete frame 1, right mouse click, click on delete. So now we know that there's no animations on any of these. So let's just double check. Select hierarchy. Yep, there's absolutely no animations on any of these. So, but there will be on this one because it was the file that we had created in the first place that we started with to make the one that we exported out. So I'm just going to make sure that these are deleted. Frame 24. Delete frame 1, delete. Okay. And it looks like I did miss one on here. Yep, I missed frame 24 on here. I forgot to delete it. Okay. Oh, and I missed it. Delete. Delete. Okay, so now you scrub through here, you can see nothing happens. Scrubbing is it's a term that what it means is you move your mouse anywhere in the timeline here, and you just hold down your left mouse button and drag. Okay, so if you're going to be doing a multiple avatars in the scene and you want to be able to line them up and what have you, I have the female one that we imported, so I'm going to keyframe that, and I'm using the shortcut to keyframe. There's the settings that I'm using, and it's the same as the shortcut is the same as me clicking apply. And so now I'm going to move the avatar to the side, and say on frame 2, I'm going to click apply. Okay, so that, I've never actually done multiple avatar animations, but so I'm just assuming that if you want this animation to be in, what do you call it, for its position to be related, I know that's not the right term. I'm sorry. I had a late night last night doing a lot of videos. You can probably hear in my voice that I'm very sort of hoarse. Relationship. That's it, the relationship. And I don't even think that's the right term. You want it so that when the animation plays, that this avatar is in the right position in relation to this avatar. Otherwise, it would start the animation in the exact same spot, and it wouldn't look right. So, so I made the second keyframe here, and I'm going to close this because I'm going to be using the shortcut key from here on out, which is on my computer. It's the S. On yours, it's probably the home key. If you've watched any of my videos, you've probably heard me say that a million times. So, okay. So, in this one, we might as well do the same thing. That be that one, and then we'll make a second key there, so that they're identical. Okay, so now say I want to make an animation on this one, you know, and I have this auto key set so that whenever I move one of these controllers, it automatically sets a key. So, so say we're going to go to the starting dance pose on frame 2. You know, you don't want to start with your arms out. How many people stand around with their arms out like that? And as soon as I click on another and release this controller, it should create a keyframe on frame 2 because I have frame 2 selected. And it didn't. That is really weird. It should have it should have created a keyframe. Oh, I know. I know why it didn't. Okay. The reason it didn't create a keyframe is you have to create the first keyframe for a controller manually. The very first keyframe that you do, it has to be manually. As you can see here, on this controller, there's no keyframe. We only put a keyframe on the movement controller. So let's add all the controllers just so that we already have all the controllers on the keyframe. So I'm going to select hierarchy, and I'm going to animate set key. Okay, now when I select this wrist, you can see it's on the very first one. There's already a key there. So now that when I move this, oh, and watch down here, it's going to give you a result. I let go, it gives me a result of 30. I believe that's, so that it means it did 30 things when you move that. And when you keyframe something, you'll get multiple results depending on what what controller you're keyframing. And so, okay. And we don't quite like that spot, so I'll move it again. So each time I move it and I let go of my mouse, it updates that keyframe. It creates another keyframe, overriding the other one. So I'll do the same thing there. Okay. And So we'll do the same thing here. Okay, so fairly similar. They don't have to be identical. And, oh, again, I forgot to set a keyframe for all of the controllers. So I'm selecting the root of all the controllers. These are all the controllers. And I'm selecting the root, selecting the hierarchy. Coming here and making sure I'm on frame 2. And then I'm going to create a key. I'll do it through up here. I could have just hit the S key, but just want to make sure that you guys can see. You can do it several different ways. And now these are all keyed. So now I can select any of them and get it into position. Oops. And do it. Okay, so now if I scrub through here, it's really weird. On frame 1, oh, I must have messed up. I have to create a keyframe there. And now when I move to frame 2, there we go. Before I moved the thing over, I didn't create a keyframe. Okay, so now this avatar will move into the correct relative position to this avatar when the animation starts. So that when you play these two animations at the same time, even if you started on frame 2 in Second Life, this avatar will immediately move over here before it starts to do the animation. And if you have an ease in, like say 2 seconds, the avatar will move over here, and then before the animation. So really takes effect. So or if you don't have any ease in, it will just pop over there, boom, as soon as it hits frame 2. So say on frame, I will say frame 10, we can come in here and we're going to make her do a little, whoops, lift up her leg and cross it over. And see, we're going to do the same opposite for her. Her, oops, leg forward. Okay, so our animation is ta-da, ta-da. Okay, so a super simple animation. One thing I would remind you is what we should have done, because our arms haven't moved from frames 2 to frames 10, they wouldn't actually make any difference. It wouldn't so on frame 1, I should have keyframed all of the joints, so that when I move the joints of 1, it would have made sure that the arm joints get recorded. Like I said, whenever you make a BVH recording, only the joints that actually move, are exported out. The information for those joints are exported out. So, so now I just simply moved everything out of its position, so now we know it moves from 1 to 2. Doesn't have to be any particular stance. So, and then she does her little kick. So that we know her leg moves. that one leg moves, but if we wanted these legs to move, we really should have created a keyframe where the avatar was. Yeah, now the right leg, both right legs would have been fine because they actually moved, but I'm just moving these to be on this, on the safe side. I might as well move all the controllers. Should probably rotate. The pelvis just moving in the rotation may not be considered enough if it just translates. The pelvis, when you move the pelvis like this, by setting that controller, you're doing a translation animation. Because the end pelvis is the only thing that can translate animate on a 1.5 exporter. So I'm just making sure all these have a keyframe on them, and in fact, I'm going to even move the shoulders a bit too, so that the collarbone moves. Collarbone's a little tricky. And I did move the chest. Make sure that it's moved. Just to make sure it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's just we're making sure that we've moved every single bone. So that none of the bones will be in their spot, because we had let's see, so that did keyframe these. Oh, we'll find it out. Yeah, it did keyframe. So if we come here and we select these different controllers, you can see that they are keyframed on frame 1. Okay, so so now they'll go into that spot. Okay, so that's you're doing a dance animation. Okay, so now we can export out our little our little animation, and I will pause the video because I need to open up the exporter for multiple avatars. Okay, so I've opened up my exporter 1.5.5 multi-avatar, and I probably need to clean this up a little bit so it's not quite so stretched out, but anyway, it's functional. Okay, now these actually work. These actually work now, and so what you want to do is the difference between these two is current means you have to select the root bone of the avatar of the skeleton that you want to export out. And so if you do top, what that means is you could select any bone in the skeleton and it will export out properly. So I could just select it there if it's easier than going in here and selecting the bone in the outliner. It'll automatically select it'll export out correctly. If you have this set to current and you select a bone like that, it won't export out correctly and it won't upload to second line correctly. I don't exactly know why or did that. Probably because sometimes it's just easier to select a bone that you can see and to select it knowing it belongs to the skeleton you want to export out. And sometimes people just want to make sure that they select the skeleton and this isn't expanded, so that they want to make sure that they select the right one to export. I'm sure Samantha has her reasonings for this. So anyway, so we're going to leave it on current, and we're going to select a skeleton to export. Why don't we export out this one first, the one that we had moved to the other side first. Okay, and we'll just export out to frame 20, oh, not 50, 20. And we'll name this girl on left. Well, our left, not her left. Oh, well, yeah. Girl on our left. And we'll hit apply. Okay. And then we're going to select the other skeleton, which is this one, and girl on our right. And we're going to apply again. Okay, so now we've just exported out our two animations that we've made. And now I'm going to pause it and log in the Second Life, and we'll see if everything worked right. Okay. Oh. Hold on. I set down my microphone for just a minute. Hold on. Okay, that's better. I needed a little bit of water. I still need more water, but that's okay. So, okay, so now we're in Second Life, and now we're going to see how our animations turned out. So go to animation, and we'll do the girl on the right first. That was the last one that we did. And awesome. And you can see that, ta-da, it's working the way it should. And if you wanted to have in the frame 2 instead of frame 1, so really that's the animation. Or frame 0. Let's see. So that's the animation. If you're wondering why she was moving before, it was the ease in and ease out. So higher. Oh, we didn't move the wrist. The wrist, even though we moved the whole arm, the wrist wasn't bent, so that's why her wrist moved. And we might not have rotated the chest enough, or the spine enough, or something. So that's why she's moved a little bit there too. Got to remember, you have to move every bone. Otherwise, animations for those bones don't get exported out. So obviously, it looks like the torso. We probably didn't rotate the torso when we were doing the original frame. We didn't move it enough. Okay, so let's check out the other one, and the girl on the left. Oh, unable to animate. Incorrect root joint name. Use hip. Interesting. Okay. Let's go back to incorrect joint name. Use hip. So that's this avatar. I was told that avatar underscore and pelvis would be fine for the hip. Okay, well this is going to be a good way, if you do get that error, how to fix it manually, so, you know, if this happens again. I could have sworn that avatar and pelvis would have been just fine. Well, let's do this. Let's just try, instead of avatar and pelvis, let's just try, did I spell? Switching this to pelvis. and seeing if this exports out correctly. Wasn't the space left? Okay, I'll know here in a minute. Yep, there was space left. Okay. Okay, and now let's come back to here and reload it. Awesome. Okay. I thought M pelvis would have been fine for the hip, but for some reason it's not. The rest of the bones were just fine, but I don't know. I'm learning as I'm making this video. I've never done a multiple animation quite like this. So I'll show you how to fix it. There's two ways you can fix it. Either come in here and name like this hip 1 and rename this one just hip. Or the other way, let me pause it and I'm going to open up the file, BVH file. Okay, I've opened up the BVH file, girl on left hip, and see where it says root pelvis? You should just have to name this to hip and then save it as. And now if we come to Second Life, I'm going to refresh this just to be on the safe side. Here we'll show animation, girl on left hip, and there we go. So that's two ways you can fix it. You could either, okay, I thought M pelvis was fine because all the other bone names are fine using it, but for some reason maybe it's this particular BVH exporter. I don't know. So, okay, so it's kind of hard to see. She does kick her leg out, and that's because the ease in. If we started on frame, there we go. So that moves her into the proper position. So she's in the proper position relative to her partner. Anyway, so that's a real quick, and you can decide what in and out and what your animations are going to be and whether or not they're going to be a loop animation or not, or you're going to have a series of, animations loading and playing. It's all up to you at that point. So awesome. That actually was pretty good that we found that little problem there, so that you know now that when you go to export out whichever one you're going to export out, rename the original one that says hip to hip 1 or whatever you want to name it. It could be any name as long as it's not hip, and then rename the one that you want to export out. And so awesome. So that should conclude this video. It's 38 minutes long, but now you understand how to make a multiple avatar animation. I could have had a male and a female here. I could have had, two males, two females, doesn't matter. You can even, and I believe as long as no, that's right. You can't have two M spines ones in the scene. When you go to export out, even if they have different names for the root joint, if there's two M spines or two bones in the same scene with the same name, when you go to export it out, a skeleton, you'll get an error because it will say, oh, I found more than one of these bones. Hold on, I need another drink of water. Oh my god, my voice is going. Okay, so yeah, so this particular exporter, if it finds another bone with the same name in the scene, it'll give you an error. So the skeletons do have to have different bones, at least the skeletons that you're exporting out the animation of, which in this case is this, in the bento case, it's the ones, is this one named hip. So If you had to rename all the bones, remember you can come up here to the bonus tools and use pattern rename. Select all the bones in there and add a prefix to it. So theoretically and technically you can import a skeleton with the same bone names and these bone names won't technically conflict when they import, except for the root will conflict. So it will rename the root, but it won't need to rename these bones. So you could go in here and select them all and then add a prefix to it. So you could have 3 avatars in here or 4 avatars in here. You would just have to constantly be renaming these bones. But with this thing, pattern rename, you could add prefixes to all the bone names in them so that you can do it that way. So that your skeletons don't have the same bone names in them, and then just rename them. So anyway, so that's been a 40-minute video. I've had a lot of requests how to do multiple avatars in the scene. Now you know. That's the extent of my knowledge. But that should get you started. Yeah. So we'll see you in the next video.